All right, welcome to another episode of the Simpletin Podcast. Now, this is going to be our season finale. We feel so sad, we feel so bad that I would have to let you off the grid for a while because we need to go back to kind of recuperate, get ourselves back so we can keep on giving you those quality content that you enjoy. All right, so I'm going to go straight up with the first question. Can you paint a picture of how your typical work from home day looks like? Adora.
Okay, so for me, I don't even snitch myself. I wake up quite late, especially when I don't really have a lot of tasks to stay. Like that day, like if I don't have an early meeting, I wake up pretty late because I just want to get as much energy as I can to complete the workday. So I wake up like by 8:30, kind of get ready for the first meeting, and then just do a lot of work throughout the day. Sometimes work extends past the work day closed end. So a lot of days I finish work by 6, 7, and then sometimes that's like meetings. Sometimes I have meetings by till like 5:30, something like that. And then I have extra work to do afterwards. But immediately after the work, office hours are over, I take a break. Because I'm just like, let me breathe first. I need to relax a bit. So I usually go on TikTok, go on Instagram, just relax for a bit. And then I get back to working because I do work late nights. I am a night owl. I could literally stay up till 5. I wake up by that 8:30 and move. So yeah, I do a lot of work at nights.
Okay.
So it's usually a mix of stealing free time for myself and then going back to work. Because with the way remote working is, we never really, even the way I've set office hours is never really like that.
The office hours, yeah.
It's never really like that. But I just take that 5 o'clock as like, okay.
Maybe you just take your break and then carry on later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's usually like that. A lot of working and a lot of stealing time for myself. So yeah.
But you know, I have to say something. You say many things. Let me just let her speak. Firstly, 8:30 is bad. Why? Because I know we all do it. I used to, hands up. I used to do that kind of stuff, But I feel like you need to wake your mind up most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before that whole. But I'm also like a night person, like, and I think that's one of the things that we always try and talk about is that I think people underestimate the amount of work you do working remotely.
Actually.
That's like a big thing because I feel like when you talk to people about remote working, they assume that you're not doing anything just because you're in one spot.
Okay.
Because they can see you and all that. But it takes a lot of balancing. It takes a lot of motivation, a lot of discipline. It's very different to your conventional we're in the office. And to be honest, anyone who's productive is going to be super productive working remotely. Like the amount of work you do in the office where people gist a lot, you're not technically gisting with people unless you intentionally book a meeting to gist with someone. There's no one next to you to just have a conversation that interrupts the work. So it can be very intense. But yeah, I'll definitely say try some exercises before 9 o'clock where you need to like get to catch up because it helps like stimulate the brain.
Yeah, I think for me it works for me perfectly because I have. So for instance, I went to the boarding school. So the moment I wake up, I'm awake. It's like the whole 10 seconds or 2 minutes. This is now thinking about your life. It does not that I'm awake. It's like I wake up with a jump, maybe I'm okay actually or something. But then I am awake. My mind is awake once I wake up, and then I do the whole 30 minutes thing to just see the world, And then now that the meeting time was actually extended for that to 9:10, I have 40 minutes to myself to just do anything, kind of like bring myself into the zone. And yeah. basically.
All right, so I'm just going to quickly jump back to what Mr. Timeni said. He mentioned something about discipline and motivation. So usually there's this issue of you get out of bed, you're thinking about your life, and you have a lot of things weighing you down, probably because you weren't able to finish up some tasks from previous day. So how have you been able to manage all of that? Because I know that there was a time during a meeting you mentioned that you're not always motivated to go into work, but somehow you always give yourself that energy. So how has that been? How have you been able to give yourself that motivation?
I think for me, I'm always like, the way I look at it is I look forward to what I'm building. So it's not even just even Simpletin, like back in the day of like consulting or doing stuff. You're always looking forward to like, okay, what is it that I'm contributing to right now? So number one, that kind of gets me thinking for the day.
Okay.
All right. But I think to get things done, I write a lot of things like, okay, these are the top 5 things I need to get done today.
Okay.
Like, so even if something is going to take me 2 hours, as long as I've written it down, I feel good when I start taking them off. Now, I might have a lot more to do, but the fact that I achieved something by maybe 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I feel very good, with myself. So I think the discipline of kind of like knowing what priority things I need to get done. And as soon as I log on, I just attack those things straight up. I exercise. I try to make sure I'm exercising in the morning.
Like early mornings.
Yeah, like I think that, I go jogging like 6:10, maybe 6:20. So that kind of gets my mind, my body, everything like just at alert. So I'm ready to kind of go. I think discipline wise is you just know you have to get it done. I think that's just the thing. The discipline is like you're not always gonna enjoy what you're doing, but you know it has to get done. So it's just knowing that, okay, what is it that I need to do? I write them down, and then I just focus on, okay, let's go, and I just start ticking them off, and then I just start going. Motivation wise, I listen to a lot of motivational stuff. So before my morning or before I get to the laptop, whatever, I've kind of listened to a couple, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whether it's Jim Rohn, or I listen to this guy quite a lot, Miles Monroe, bless him, he's no longer here. So I listen to some of these things just to get my mind focused on, like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's pretty much it. That's really how I get past my day. Yeah, but some days I think like Adora, I get intentional about just taking a break. Like I might be just like not in the mood. So maybe I might not even start anything till like 10, depending on whether there are meetings or not. Like till that time, I'm doing absolutely nothing. But that's because I already know that it's gonna be a long day.
Okay.
So I intentionally like faff around till 10. But the minute I just switch on, that okay, now we need to go. That's it. Everything boom, 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 boom. And then you go to like maybe like 7. I might take a break. Actually, and I also do naps. That's another way that I kind of stay a little bit motivated.
Naps. How do you mean? Like midday naps?
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's the blessing for like remote work. I remember back in the day, like working in England, you have like offices that have like restrooms where people go in to either pray or you can go and have a nap. But obviously, if someone is in there, someone is taking it before you, right? But some offices, their culture is that they provide that for people to rest, because there are times, and this is the thing we talk about remote working, right? Those days, you can fall asleep on your lap, on your PC. Like you literally be dozing off on your PC, probably because you don't have anything to do.
Okay.
Because you're bored. So you don't want to doze in front of people, because then it looks like as if you're not professional or you're not.
No, you're not serious about it.
Yeah, you're not serious about doing. So you used to have like these rooms, but it's not always available for you to go and take a rest. But working remotely, one of the benefits is I can put an alarm on and have power naps. Whether it's half an hour, 45 minutes, I just put that alarm on and just snooze for that time. And then once I'm awake, I'm ready to go. Especially when I'm feeling like I'm getting tired, So I think that kind of gives me a little bit of balance between, okay, I'm being disciplined, but I'm also being aware that I need to rest in between.
Yeah.
And then, just keep myself motivated. But I do watch a lot of motivational stuff.
Motivational stuff actually. And on that motivation too, there's also something about waking up and kind of visioning your day, kind of viewing your task. And sometimes you wake up really down, low energy, but then there's this curiosity in you that like, okay, so what can I actually achieve today? How can I actually go far? What impacts can I bring into my day? So yeah, that's actually a very good point on motivation. All right, so I'm just going to jump quickly back to Dora. All right, so you mentioned something about having to walk sometimes late into the night, and all of these times are very important times at home because we are still living with our parents. I don't know if you're living alone, no? But because where I come from, I have to do chores. I have to organize my siblings to get them ready for school. I have to prepare food for them. I literally have to cook even the food that they're going to eat when they come back. I have a lot of things I'm doing. So when you say you have this much time, I'm wondering, kind of curious, how do you manage your time? How do you? Oh, you don't have chores?
I'm one of the lucky youth that doesn't live with their parents. So right now I'm just in my brother.
Can I come and leave it?
But then I'll tell you something about when I started out. So I don't stay in Abuja, I stay in Niger State. So I stay with my parents over there.
Okay.
And when I said working at Simpletin, it was hell. Because my mother did not take what I was doing, anything about it, she did not take it seriously. So she could call me literally. I started using DND because of this workplace. Because she would just call me. And what she's calling me for, oh God, like something to
Come and pick up the remote from that table.
something that you could do yourself or let somebody else to do. It doesn't have to be me now. But she doesn't want to hear that. It could be like, okay, go to my room and bring Coke.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm in a meeting, please. The number of times I've told her I'm in a meeting, I think if they give me 1 naira for it, I'd be a billionaire.
Oh, wow.
I'm in a meeting. Please, I'm in a meeting. So I do understand how it feels to not be taken seriously at home.
Yeah.
For what you're doing to not be taken seriously at all, actually. Because you're just like, if it's working remotely, you're definitely not putting that much effort into it. And one thing I will say is that working remotely and then Simpletin culture are quite different. Because even for me, when I got in, I didn't know working remotely would be like this hands-on.
Okay.
Because the idea is usually, you can do what you have to do whenever you want to do it, or like whenever you set out time to do it. But with Simpleton, like, yeah, always engaged. So it's really honestly not 100% like remote, because you have meeting from 9 to 5. It's a lot of things. So the idea that when you're working remotely, you could just be doing whatever you want and then come by like 3 midday and start working, or come by 7 in the evening and start your work, is not like that as Simpleton. So I also think that's something they didn't get, that I actually have to do these things right now.
Yeah, you were not informed on time.
So it's not even like being informed. It's like, even though I informed them,
Okay.
they don't want to hear it. You're my daughter. I raised you. You have to do what
You
I
are
need
going
you
to do what I need.
Is that an African thing?
It's definite. I feel like, I won't say because I'm African, but I think from everything I've heard from my friends, everyone working at Simpleton that's around my age, it's the same thing for them. Because you don't have that free time to just do what you're supposed to do and just like think, or just know that your people at home not be pressing your neck. So I am so happy I escaped, but yeah, it's still because, and one thing I will say is that I don't share with your pain because I'm the last born. So there's also that small princess treatment here and there.
Oopsies. Please.
Also, I don't really do the whole cooking for my siblings part, but yeah, being used by your parents, 100%.
So I think we've Ruzo just there. I think we'll come back to your scenario, not being the last born.
Yeah.
But let's hear what Emmanuel has to say.
Okay, so before I go to what it is, I think I relate with what Adora said in the sense that I do have a bit of say, but there's a level, like she said, as an African or as an African parent, African child, there's a level it gets to, it feels like disrespect. So you just have to, if they tell you do this, at least you have to do some. But then again, there's also a line, because I'm an adult. I'm able to speak to them, explain to them that, I'm doing something, I'm busy. but there are some things I still have to do. So to what it is now for me, I have my time to myself. When I wake up in the morning, I do a bit of prayer. I wake up early. I do wake up early. In fact, now I'm trying to wake up a bit more early than before. So yeah, I do wake up early because I would maybe do a bit of prayer, check myself a lot, and then go into a meeting. But for remote working, I would say I don't think every firm is the same when it comes to remote working. And the idea that people have for remote working is a bit different.
Relative. Yeah.
It's relative. But again, the glaring one is that, remote working, you're going to be at home. You can do anything you want to do. When you have a time, you just log in. First things first.
And that's a very big misconception.
One thing that changes for us is that we have catch up. The catch up alone makes you feel that there's work. The catch up alone makes you understand that every day there is work. For some firms, maybe you just have to do catch up twice in a week or once a week when you're having a project and all. But no. Every project, everybody's part of the project. Everybody has to put their hands on it. And sometimes you could be having meetings from 9 to 5, like she said. And many times the time you have for work is usually towards the evening. So you can see how that meetings have taken maybe a part of your day. And then evening, you have to do the work because you have times where you have to present.
Yeah.
And no excuse will be taken that you had meetings. No, the meetings were maybe to set out or give out direction on how to go about setting work and all of that. So for me, yes, I do have my own time. Nonetheless, it is not easy either ways. You have to get on work. And for us as Simpletin, there's always a project. We are meticulous about things. We're just meticulous about it. But people don't understand. I think no. This is what it is. This is what it is. For many young people, they can see it as stress. But if you have a bird's eye view, you will see how that helps you to overcome lots of challenges.
More or less like critical thinking.
You see how that helps you to cover gray areas. If you are that I was telling him one day, I said I'm meticulous, but when I met him, I said, only learning small. Let's say so I think basically it's just it helps you to be more cautious about things. And this thing helps you in your own life, not just work. In your own life, because you are making decisions every day. And having that mindset would definitely help you to make better decisions. That's my thoughts.
All right, so now I know that I'm not alone in this whole parents controlling my life.
Yeah.
thing. But you guys are lucky. I mean, you guys have escaped, so I guess till when I escape. But there's this common factor, yeah? And I would like both to actually answer this. So knowing that you're hiring because you hire younger people, there's also a wide range of younger people that you hire. So how do you cope with some parents infused decisions on your children? Because we know that this remote work is not widely accepted across not just Nigeria. Africa as a whole hasn't even fully accepted it. When they see you on your laptop, they're either thinking, oh, this one is playing games, this one is watching a movie, this one is very not serious with his life. But then how do you first of all cope with hiring the younger generation and with their parents infused I don't know what to put it, control on them? And then what's your story like from the African point of view of remote working?
I think that's interesting. Well, not to sound like, we're insulting anybody in Nigeria or Africa in a whole. I think Africa-wise, we're always behind because I come from an environment where remote working is like normal, and you don't really have the culture of someone is doing Yahoo. So someone being at home is something a lot of employees want because, for instance, for me to get to work, if I was working in London from where I was, cost maybe like 650 pounds a month, right? So imagine if I didn't have to spend that amount of money.
You'd have saved
I'll say, which is what a lot of people saved during the COVID, because you're not having to go to work. Not only that, because you're having to go to work, if you're in central London, for instance, you spend money on lunch. Lunch alone could be £20 a pop, right? What do you eat? It's just the price because of where you are, it's expensive. It's in the city and all that kind of stuff. So let's just say you're not in the city, right?
Okay.
If you were going to be cheap, maybe £5, right? So if you calculate 5 days a week, that's 25. So pretty much your actual going to work might cost you £800 a month. like just the spend. It's kind of like a bit strange for me, right? It was just a bit of a shock that people don't really understand like remote working, and the fact that just because you're working remotely doesn't mean you don't do anything. Like you're fully expected to be showing up and turning up. So I think where the balance is I have a little bit of empathy after experiencing Nigeria. But secondly, I feel like the level of engagement lets them know automatically that this is serious.
Yeah.
Right? This is serious. But I think we need to put a process in place
Yeah.
to educate parents that most young people don't want to be going to the office every day. That's fact. And it's going to be like that I know that in Nigeria we're behind, but especially when you're working in tech roles, but it is a struggle. And I must say that it's sometimes very challenging with young people, because I don't think I've had anyone in Simpleton, a young person, that is usually not the first issue. It's just overcoming the fact that they have chores, they're usually not going to be delivering work, and it's just a struggle. So it's an ongoing thing that we need to kind of do, and we need to kind of educate Nigerians and the workforce generally that not only do you have benefits of you save money by not spending. Adara talks about 8:30. If you're having to go to work, there's no way you're climbing out of bed 8:30.
Definitely not.
There's no way. There are its pros and cons, but as I've said, I think I understand what people go through in terms of the disrespect of not respecting the fact that you're working because of your working style, but also the fact that we have a lot of young people that have to deal with the fact that either adults or parents just don't recognize that they're busy, or this is work, because their era, what work was like in their era. And that's what I don't actually understand. That I feel like a lot of parents are not actually updating their software. It's like you're in Windows XP, we're like moving on to Windows 13, and you still think that your kids are going to be the same. Like, you didn't come from an era where you use cameras, your phones didn't have cameras. What do you think is going to be like for people and it's obviously going to change even further. So it's for you to keep up with what is going on around you and be adaptable, to be able to understand that for these guys to be the best, they also have to adapt, because things are really fast. That's pretty my take on the experience of that and how I've been able to deal with that. It's just empathy. And I feel like when you're direct with the guys who are working and they understand that this is for their own growth, I feel like they do. I know some people still struggle with it, and we hope at some point we overcome and people kind of understand that, times have moved on.
Yeah. Okay. I really appreciate that. I feel like one of the biggest parts that you mentioned were, because I really appreciate your efforts in even trying to make us communicate. Because remote working does its own bits when it comes to you're working in your own secluded space. You don't really have to connect to the person you're working with. Emmanuel is one person who hasn't always been a remote worker. So I just want to kind of get your own point of view. How does that feel for you? Like, how were you able to adapt from working on site, having to go to work, and then switching over to remote work? How was like the mindset shift, or like your deliberate actions to make yourself keep up?
Okay, right from the time when I was working full time, I never really liked the idea
of remote working.
I never really liked the idea of working full time
on site. Okay,
because I was like, what are we coming to do? There are many times I've had meetings with management to tell them that this work, like, we could do it at home. Why are we coming here? Why are we wasting money? And because at the time, so
wasting money.
So help me, no, like I wanted to say, so help me. There are many times I've always been close to those leading, or at least the owners, and I do have that privilege to speak, to say, because they would ask me, like they would ask me, what do I think? And I'd be like, this work, because I've worked as a head of a small department, and I would say, this thing that we are doing, we could do it at home. Why come here? Why making people come every time? So I was always been the opinion that if I do have a company, I'll prefer a hybrid kind of way. And if you look at it, yes, we are remote at Simpleton, but we are still hybrid because we have times where we have to come out.
Yeah.
And that is very important because I remember one of our first physical meetings where we had to travel at Simpleton. I was looking at everybody else. So this is you? Is this you? Like, is this how you look? Like,
That was your first time seeing.
yeah. So that was my first time seeing. I've seen one of them physically.
Okay.
But I remember the maybe I had not seen them. The first time I met them was when we traveled. I think you remember when we traveled. So I was looking at, so this is the person that used to talk like this. I'm like, and that whole, when you see them physically is a different ball game. But what I would say is that I do prefer working remotely, but remotely having times to come to meet physically.
So more or less like hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid.
Yeah.
I prefer that because, like you said, there are times where you feel siloed, just. And for me, if you ask me, yes, I can be on my own, but I would prefer to have times where I see and meet with people. Generally, that's my idea.
So in terms of the adaptability,
Okay, so I was able to adapt because I never really liked the full-time working. Going to work Monday.
it's probably like, okay, this is beneficial for me.
Yeah, it's better for me normally to like, okay, I go to work because I always want to have a time to reset, to relax and chill. Wake up in the morning, you are trying to dress up to go to work, and you go to work, you might not even do much like that. That thing that you are doing, that you went to work to do, the work would now be that you have to come home
Yeah,
to start to do the work.
or nothing.
So you probably have gone, you stayed like 5 hours, within 5 hours or whatever many amount of hours you stayed. You now have work that you need to do or present the next day. And you have to do it in the night when you get home after being stressed from going to the work, coming back, commuting. So that whole commuting thing, I don't think is necessary for me. In fact, if you ask me, there are lots of firms in Nigeria that could do remote or hybrid, or I would say at least hybrid, or at least schedule it. Even when you go to like in the health sector, some people take shifts. They do shifts. So if your health sector can do shifts, some people just, if you go to some firms, honestly, they're not doing much. They could as well just make it remote. And remotely would save the firm a lot of cost. Because in Nigeria, there's running costs for the firm. Fuel, all of many things that they run
Even office maintenance.
to run physically every day. So in my opinion, my world would be that it should be hybrid for many firms. Except firms that is just necessary, like health sector. They have to be there. But even in health sector, they do shifts. So
Yeah, because remote working can be remote based, so not every role
not every role
can actually work remote.
remotely, yeah.
I think just because we kind of do tech,
There are a lot of things that remote working does. Another thing it does is that it helps management to create a more systemized way to track work. Because if you were not working remotely, you have to sit in a meeting and you could just probably talk about it. But if it's remote, you have to show things that you have done. You have to see them. But for physical work, we could have a physical meeting and we just probably talk about it. But remotely, it's almost necessary, especially for us,
You need to show the proof of
that you have to have shown something that you are working on. But another thing again, it does, but this is just peculiar to Simpleton. I don't think it's everywhere. Is that for many places that I've worked, talking about adaptation, I do work. I do a lot of things, but I think being in a sphere like Simpleton would help you with two things. Number one, to always want to sharpen your skill, because at every given point in time you put at the forefront to do something. And if you are not sharpening your skills, it's going to be obvious that you're not doing anything. So it helps you to want to be accountable. But also, one major thing it does, if you work in a sphere like Simpleton, you would want to be innovative. Truly. Even though, yes, we would want to have a session for that, but you want to be innovative because you are in a space where everybody is trying to do something. You'll be challenged to work. And in the process of doing that, innovation is birthed, basically.
So dealing with that emotional connection with your team, that's another very important thing. So now will bring me to my next question. This one even came up more recently.
Okay.
How, and I'm going to direct it to Dora, but I would also like boss to answer this. So when you have cases of, because there are sometimes there are miscommunications. You're trying to pass a message to someone and then it kind of comes off a bit cold or a bit rough. Not because the person is trying to send you. Probably the person is in a hurry to type in a message, boom, sends it, or trying to pass a message across, and it comes off as very, very rough. So I just want to kind of get a general view. How have you been able to manage the emotional misfire or misunderstanding while working remotely?
And for me, I do think I have a very direct sense. Like when I'm communicating, it's very
Yeah.
direct.
Okay.
So it could come off as like I don't care about what I'm talking about that much, or like I'm just not aware of what I'm trying to say in that. But for me, how I do it is making sure at the end, I actually try to make my communication as concise as possible, getting to the point, not really rambling about things. So getting to the point and making sure that it serves the purpose it's supposed to serve. So because work isn't really, in the sense I'm thinking of now, it's not really emotional, because it's like I need to get something from you, or we need to work on something together. So I just go straight to the point on what,
Getting results and getting out.
not kind of. So it's like telling the person what is going on, because I do feel like everybody's busy. Nobody really has time to be. For instance, now you could have a conversation with somebody and could span over like 30 minutes and you don't get to the point. I do feel like sometimes it could be annoying, and I do not want to, because everybody's busy, everybody has something they're working on. So I just try to get to my point, and then if there's still time, because I know. So one thing I would talk about is that with the emotional aspect, I do feel like having a relationship with the people you're working with helps. So they don't really assume, because when you know somebody, you don't really assume the worst of how
Like
this
to make
person.
excuses for them.
So it's like, so recently, because I be working over the time I've been working at Simpletin, I've been working on a project mainly with Boss and Emmanuel, never really interacting with other people in the company. But recently, like Boss, I think he did it intentionally. I would say he did it intentionally making me work with other people in the team, giving us like tasks or like project that I have to, like by force, you have to go and talk to these people and work with them. And that has really helped me, because when I got here, the only person I was close to was one of my previous co-workers that we were in the same course. So we were friends from school. But any other person, we didn't really have that rapport. But starting to work with Lulu, Maureen, Osaze, just working with them, Olise, just getting projects done together. We have this already existing rapport where I don't have to go too much into what I'm talking about. I don't have to sugarcoat things I'm saying or anything. They just know what I'm trying to say and they understand it. So I do think building that connection with who you're working with would kind of eliminate that problem majority of the time.
And this is the connection is built outside of work, so you don't have to burn into your time and productivity.
Well, I will say that even during work time, you can mix it up. I think I've been in meetings with Maureen and Nulu where we finished discussing what we wanted to talk about and then just start gisting.
I'm going to a first session about it.
Because life is not that deep. We can just talk small about what's going on in our lives and just basically building a connection. And I think it's very important.
That's so great. So now I want to get from the overseer's point of view. How have you been able to manage conflicts within on remote working or within the remote working space?
I think it's just like Adora said, like it's direct, really. I guess from my point of view, there's not much I can do about being direct. I can't really go around the bush, I have to kind of address things if I want things to move on.
Okay.
And if anybody knows anything about building anything, that would be great. It's really about the people. And if the people are not going to be able to work, then it becomes an issue. So that direction is important. I don't have much of an emotional connection like that. So I'll give you an example. Like Adora was saying, like when I first started communicating with Adora, I remember I told her, I said, I understand your communication style, because she sometimes would tell jokes and the directness of the thing is like, that thing just pierced me. Like, are you joking me? Like, do you know who you are talking to?
Just throws it straight without regard.
But I realized that was her methods or banter.
Yeah.
Her banter was a bit direct in terms of how it came. So I started knowing how to throw mine back. So I was like, if you know how to throw, I will throw mine. So if you catch, no problem. So I think in that sense, we kind of understood, and I think everybody should always know that in terms of me, I always want the best for people. So even if it doesn't come across like that, you should always have it in mind that it's for your own kind of
Yeah.
and that's just basically it. So there is the bit of you can't get too emotional.
Yeah.
But like she said, there are times I gist too. Like when we're talking, I can't go into conversations, but I do it on purpose because you have to kind of build that rapport. You can't just go into meetings all the time and bang, 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 do this, do this, do this, this. There are times you just want to kind of just share some stuff. So I think that's the best way to handle those kind of things, So be direct when it comes to conflict. So I'm also learning to see perspectives a little bit more and not be too emotional in, which is again what we're trying to say, not be too emotional in
Well,
in,
that's what.
yeah I- in the midst of what's going on. Like when you have conflict, you can't be too carried away
Oh yeah.
in the middle. And if you're carried away, go away, think about it and resolve the issue later on. I think that helps. Communication is just key.
How have you guys been able to communicate your blockers? Because I know that there are sometimes we have blockers that we can't really communicate. Like for me, yesterday, I know that mid-meeting, my data got finished. But then, I don't know how to, in front of the ladies now. I mean, my steez, how I say that my data has finished? I mean, haba. So how do we actually really handle communicating blockers?
So I was in a meeting on Tuesday, I believe the post, and when I tell you, Airtel no service, MTN no service, mid presentation, I was like, kill me now, just take my life, because what do you mean? So I had to quickly, I don't even know how the message ended up sending, but I was just like, I have to communicate with boss that I am off. My network is not strong, so he could just like ignore it and not like take the conversation away from whatever was on the slide or anything like that. So just and even the data thing, you could cook English. You don't have to say, "Oh, my data is finished." Everybody understands the situation in the country. Although you have to have backups, that's why I have to. But then your backup is like I have to have like backup of the backup of the backup because my backup still failed. So it's just basically because all of us are in the same situation. Sense that it's not like somebody is in US right now, like that's with your coworkers. So I do feel like how we communicate, we are dry runs and things. So somebody in that meeting knows what you're trying to do, knows where the meeting is supposed to go. So when you do have an issue or something that's hindering work, that's where the teamwork comes in, and your fellow worker could now support in that situation. So with the one with boss just handled that. So having someone there, because we communicate a lot, so everyone on the project or in that meeting should know where this is supposed to go. So if somebody now has an issue and has to drop off, it doesn't have to now be stagnant. It could keep on moving without you. So I do feel like just understanding. So that's like from the perspective of you having the issue, and then perspective from you now being the one having to handle it. You'd have to be empathetic. You'd have to understand and just try. But also is quite unprofessional as well. But there are some situations that are beyond our powers.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you have the backup of the backup and communicate. So I do think communication is important and making sure you're as prepared as possible as well.
All right, guys. So thank you very much for joining us for another exciting episode of the Simpletin Podcast. If you want to keep getting more interesting contents like this, like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Bye for now. Have a great day.